Yeehaw!
What's happening, gang? Obviously, we're back live in the stash. It's getting fun up in here, apparently. Thanks to my man, Steve. Real Talk Radio San Diego. Tracking down some of the coolest local people, talking about some important local topics. And important, definitely. Maybe not the funnest one, but we got divorce on the docket today. And it was obviously something that Charlotte and I both in our private lives encounter all too often and helping folks get into and out of homes. So here's a little romp on maybe swimming upstream a little bit and seeing what could be possibly done about it. Charlotte, actually, holding that flag, has written a book. That's her vote on it, and it's called You Could Be Right or You Could Be Happily Married, Maintaining Harmony in Your Christ-Centered Home. And by the way, you can follow this conversation that she's got going on at yourmarriageharmony.com. Charlotte, this conversation matured from the concept of daily investing, why that's a critical part, and then began to kind of take a little bit deeper of a tone, realizing that, of course, in relationship, it doesn't mean just the one with yourself. It's the one you got someone else you got to get buy-in on. And then comes the self-care component. So why don't you introduce us to that thread? Like, why is that one of the most essential pieces to this?
Well, just self-care demonstrates to ourselves that we love ourselves. And I've discovered that, if I don't love me, how in the heck can I love anybody else? And so it's kind of foundational in, if you will, in laying that relationship.
As a matter of fact, if I might, it's actually the opposite. Because if you're not feeling complete, let's just say, then what you'll do typically is you'll actually pull people down along with you. That whole misery loves company concept, right?
Just a crab in the pot,
And who is in the bullseye of that list?
Oh, yeah.
Your friends that you hang out with and drink on the weekends? Probably not. Your clients? Maybe. No, it's the poor spouse who gets to lie next to you, and hang out in your lowest moment. Yeah.
So true. So what I've discovered is if I make out a list of 15 to 16 things that I do for myself intentionally that show that I really care about me, things like pedicure, manicure, working out, drinking a lot of water, eating good, not junk food, taking naps, getting enough rest, maybe getting a massage, but taking care of me, because then I can bring that best me to the relationship. When I am all run down and I'm all toxined out from eating the wrong stuff and I'm dehydrated, I'm just not my best me at all. I mean, I just expel people, especially, my spouse. So that is the foundation. And I just have found that make that list and do at least 2 to 3 of those every day, I'm going to be bringing a better me to the picture. And the more I can do, obviously, the better.
And at the end of the day, right? Or should it be the beginning of the day?
Throughout the day.
Throughout the day.
Like drinking water. Water is my beverage of choice, but that's just me. And I just know that if I'm hydrated, my cells are all doing the happy dance, and I'm better off. So if I'm eating right throughout the day, I'm just better at the end of my day as well as the beginning of the day. So it's things I can do throughout the day, little things, nothing grandiose, not that you got to spend hundreds of dollars and go do a weekend with yourself or go do...
Although that's kind of cool, too.
That's kind of cool, but I'm just saying some people are going, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But you can drink water.
Yeah.
You can get up and exercise a little bit. You can take a little quiet time and do some introspection.
Yeah, you said it best, too, in the thought of throughout the day. The first thing that just kind of flew up for me is the concept of email. You know, and isn't it funny how email is like the quintessential element about how much you love yourself, and it ebbs and flows too. Like sometimes I'll just be like, my entire day of job is just sitting behind, waiting for someone else to tell me what their agenda for me needs to be for that day.
Right?
My self-love probably a lower, measuring lower on that scale of that day. And I'm not trying to say that's a direct corollary, but it's that same concept though. Like, are you just sitting around waiting for an external, inspiration or something to sort of drive your agenda, or do you kind of have it, scheduled out?
Right.
Like,
are you on the offense or the defense?
And you mentioned habitual. And
this is ESPN.
That's true. I love it. Here you go. I'll give you one of those. Nice. Good. So what else on that? I mean, I remember from reading your book a little bit, you were talking about the concept of the juice box. Do you remember writing about that?
I do.
What was that little nugget?
Well, what I threw in there was just that if I don't take care of me and I have, business demands, I'm a mom, so I got family demands, I'm a wife, pretty soon you feel like you're sucked dry, like that box, and there's nothing else in there, but still everybody wants something, and then you turn into cranky and not given anymore.
Everybody can relate with that.
Everybody can relate with that. But, so you can't build or give at that point. And it's important to refill myself by doing some of these important things that you listed out, 15 or 16 of them, that shows that you care about yourself, to replenish that.
Yeah, your voice of the mom and the wife is something that resonated with me really deeply because, I think that it's probably one of the most underserved roles. And I'm not even talking about the fact that you actually have a successful real estate company also on top of all this. You're asked to give life, for starters, right?
Right.
Imagine that. Give love, give encouragement, give foundation, give education, give nourishment, give care, and that's just before like 8 a.m. And then you got that. So then you're running out into the world, so to speak, with your juice box already totally empty, right? You had to handle all of the moving parts to get everybody out, and so they can have their life. That's the role of the matriarch, typically, And then so how do you check back in with self-care? So like, what are some little tips or tricks throughout the day? Like you mentioned the list thing. That's one of them. So what, maybe like every morning you pop up and kind of write down the things, to sort of remind us. So top of mind awareness, and then practice those throughout the day, or like what's some nuggets you can give us there?
Okay, great point there. And again, it all starts back at my morning ritual. So I'm starting there. That's nourishing me right now. And then originally, I would just put reminders in my phone. It's time to drink water, if I'm not on a good schedule for that. Or, when it's lunchtime, put a reminder in there to eat something healthy or be intentional, pack it the night before or something. So those are two little things that make such a huge difference in our overall person, because what we eat comes out.
Yeah. Hopefully not literally.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, not in front of everyone. But then towards the end of the day, I have the bookends on the day. And so it's coming back to that gratitude place and being grateful. So those are some things that I weave in. And a lot of them are now instant for me. But you got to put them in with reminders initially. Otherwise, like you said at the top of the show, it's so easy to get derailed and off on our busyness that we forget what it was we were really trying to accomplish.
Well, and I love that thought. It's almost like a little hack too. It's like you can throw it in your calendar. For me, you keep mentioning water, and like to the naked ear, it just sounds so trivial. Like, is she talking about water? You need like Allen Iverson in here. Like,
we talking about practice.
Yeah.
We talking about practice? No. But there's actually a cool little app that I downloaded, I don't know, about a year or two back, called Waterlogged, and it does just that. Like, it just is a cool little fancy little thing. Just reminds me, tell me to, and it's so funny that where it's like I need an app to hack to tell me to drink water. It's embarrassing, but man, how transformative is that? If I get enough water, it's almost embarrassing. It's like so fundamental, and it's like the first thing that I'll easily just let go fall by the wayside habitually. But it's such a critical piece of your energy.
Yes.
Right? Which, come on, is directly proportional to this theme, because if you don't have any energy left, if you're bankrupt, you go back and revisit, matriculate back into your husband, in your case, or your family, and you got no energy left in the tank. Right. That's an experience.
That is.
No one really likes that. Mom's crabby and cranky again. Then leave her alone, That's a time bomb. So what other kind of hacks like that? Like you mentioned water, you mentioned source. Anything else?
What you eat, and then,
so what's been your experience with that?
Well, I'm kind of over the top for some people, and I'm just very conscious of what I eat. I don't eat junk food, and I plan what I'm going to eat and take it with me. You know, if I'm going to be busy and on the go, instead of getting to a point where I didn't eat all day and now I'm hangry, I have something with me to get me through the day.
So was that always the case? Were you always an amazing eater? You had to learn that?
No, I had to learn that.
Yeah. So what's been your experience in those two hemispheres?
Oh, it's like night and day. You know, when I take care of myself and eat well, I'm bringing a better me. Because in what we do and in our homes, there's so much coming at us all the time that the better we are to fight those forces off with a more positive, and without toxins in your body, you're able to sift and sort and be a better solution seeker than not, is what I've discovered. So without them, I was more tired. I had less energy, couldn't really be fully present, focus on what was being said, just constantly going off into what I wanted to have happen instead of letting what was evolving evolve.
I've heard it said before that when you teach, it's the highest form of learning.
That's so true.
So what's the number one lesson that you've been able to learn from going through this process of writing this book?
Well, the number one lesson, and I may have mentioned this before, is that the only thing you can really work on is you. And once I got that if I poured all the energy that I had trying to make changes or give my opinions or sprinkle in, why don't you do it this way, and turn that into me on how could I come to the situation better, how could I encourage more, what could I do to make it a positive experience, it just came to be more flourishing. And it reduced the stress in me. I was focused more on what kind of joy and encouragement as opposed to how was I going to take charge and figure it out, and I've got the solution here.
Yeah. If you can see right now in the studio, you catch us live in the rebroadcast, she angrily pounded her fist into the ESPN table, knocked several things off. No, we got it. And so if I'm if I'm distilling this conversation down, I'm seeing some central themes sort of developing. And I know this was sort of, I guess, germane to my experience in reading the book in the first place. Charlotte, there's one piece that's still missing, though. And I'm going to tease it out as opposed to let our listeners have it. So let's just say coming up, the actual secret sauce is about to be revealed. The final leg of this conversation with Charlotte Volsch, author of You Can Be Right or You Can Be Happily Married. And, of course, you can follow this conversation anytime you want over at yourmarriageharmony.com. And she's got a live event coming up in January right here in San Diego. You're not going to want to miss that. Real Talk Radio, San Diego. This is The Secret Stash, and we'll be right back.